in progress.
I'd like to call the May 21st legislative meeting to order. Will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Everyone, thank you for coming tonight. So I just wanted to report out that the food pantry occurred yesterday, our monthly food pantry. So we did it a week earlier because of Memorial Day being next week. We had roughly about 85 families, which is a few more than we had last time. However, we had a lot of new participants this time, about 25 new families. So it's good to see that people are still utilizing the program, people are still taking the buses, and hopefully we can keep the program going permanently. At this point, we have no liaison reports. Do we have any correspondence, Paula?
We don't.
We have no correspondence. All right, so at this point, I'd like to open up the public comments. I'd just like to mention that if you have any questions regarding any of the items on our agenda tonight, just state your questions, we'll write them down, and then when we get to the agenda item, we'll seek to address any and all concerns you might have. So, at this point, anyone from the public want to speak?
I don't have anybody on my list.
Nobody? Okay, anyone online?
I think Mary Adams
I
has
just
her
saw
phone
Mary
up.
Adams.
Maybe she wants to speak.
Yep.
You want to mute her?
Bless you.
That's all I have to say.
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, hi, everyone. Got a flat tire, couldn't come. I just have a question about number 14 on the agenda, authorizing the settlement of a proceeding. I just wanted to know what that was all about, the YNHK LLC. Just would like to hear a little bit more about that settlement and what that means.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
we'll go over that in detail. Anyone else from the public want to speak?
No.
All right, so at this point, I'm going to close the public portion, and we're going to move on to agenda items. So the first four agenda items really has to do with hiring and firing personnel. Now we're going through the summer season, so we do a lot of our hirings, and we're also unfortunately losing someone. So the first item, motion to approve seasonal employment of Heather Manor as office/clerk in the Parks Department effective 4/26/2024.
Motion.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. Number two, motion to approve seasonal employment of Lorena Maxwell as office/clerk in the Parks Department effective 5/4/2024.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number three, motion to approve seasonal employment of Dalton Maxwell as laborer in the Parks Department effective 4/15/2024.
Motion.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number four, motion to accept the resignation letter from Benjamin Doland of the wastewater department effective 5/27/24.
Motion.
I have a motion
Second.
and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'm sorry to see Benjamin go. Number five, motion to approve the promotion of Greg Petula to Code Enforcement Officer with a salary of $72,500 and department head stipend of $10,000, as well as retroactive pay dated to 1/8/2024.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number six, motion to approve a salary increase for Tracy Lazinski in the Justice Court to $70,000 from $62,500.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number seven, motion to approve a salary increase for Talia Vargas in the Justice Court to $47,000.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Number 8, motion to approve a salary increase for Chief of Police Brendan Pavesi to $130,000.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. All right, number 9, I'm just gonna word it a little differently. Motion to set the salary for Police Lieutenant Michael Dorotis to $115,000.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Sorry, wait till the vote commences.
Second.
We can take
I have
it
a
back.
motion and a second. Nate was the second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, so next one is to, I guess, to approve the reemployment of Richard Pratty to the position of Special Patrol Officer with an hourly pay of $24.31, effective 5/21/24.
Motion.
Second.
Richard has been with us for over 10 years. We have to reappoint every 6 months, and we're very happy to do so. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Come step up. Take a quick picture.
I did dress picture word.
I get it done.
You guys gotta squeeze in a little bit more. Hold on, I gotta take down Miranda's. Okay.
Settle down, please. Number 11, resolution approving the updated residential refuse rates. This is of 2024. This is the contract that we awarded to Thompson Sanitation to do our refuse for residential. The current price, the new price coming into effect would be $45 per month for one family, $90 for two family, $130 for sorry, it's $45 for each family, and as well as some other services there. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. So the next one has to do with NYSEG moving their power lines onto town property. So with the bridge replacement that's going to be happening in Woodburn, they're gonna need to move an electrical line, power line, but they're gonna be placing it onto town property. So we're gonna be granting them an easement to move that power line, and essentially what number 12 is for. So resolution approving temporary electric relocation for tax parcel ID 22-3-1, executing temporary easement to NYSEG. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. So the next one, at the recommendation of the Golf Superintendent and Golf Pro, they set the rates for 2024, which I believe just has a minor increase, to help cover, increasing, expenses. So, got a motion to approve resolution approving 2024 Terry Ray Lockmore daily rates.
Motion.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. So number 14, we're gonna have our town attorney explain to us. This is the resolution authorizing settlement of the proceeding instituted against YNHK LLC and Yakima Horowitz in Sullivan County Supreme Court, index number E2023-1040.
Right, just to review, there are two actions, and actually before I do that, Dylan Harris with me, he's the special prosecutor in charge of prosecution in the Justice Court of the violations in this matter. This is litigation that arose out of constructing buildings without permits at a location on Rose Road in the town. There were two proceedings commenced. One proceeding was commenced in the Justice Court to impose fines, which would be the penalty for failing to obtain the proper permits. And there was a second proceeding started in the Supreme Court in order to enjoin use of the property until special permits and the appropriate permits were approved, and to enforce the town code with regard to the permits and the property, and it also had an additional claim for money for fines as well. So both proceedings were handled separately because they're in separate venues. The Justice Court has a fairly narrow jurisdiction. The jurisdiction would be limited to fine or no fine. They don't have equitable jurisdiction, which would allow them to stop a use, take a building, modify a building, or do anything else in the nature of an injunctive relief against anyone. They can either fine or not fine. And that's the proceeding that Dylan Harris has been handling. The other proceeding is being handled by Ben Gailey, who was the former town attorney, and he's been kept on as special counsel in this matter for continuity. Didn't appear to make sense to change midstream, and he's handling the Supreme Court matter. Basically, the three of us have worked together and talked to counsel. Most of the work is done by Ben Gailey and Dylan Harris. There are two counselors that are representing the defendant and potential applicant. One is a litigator, and the other is a land use attorney. In connection with the proceeding, after extensive discussions to try to resolve the matter, the defendant was willing to admit wrongdoing and firmly stated that they wrongfully converted the property without permits and approval and admitted liability. And they are willing to submit themselves to a fine proceeding in the Justice Court. And because they acknowledge they have no COs, no permits, they are agreeing to an injunction until such time as they're able to obtain such permits. So the property can't be used. They can maintain and protect it, but it cannot be used or occupied without appropriate approvals and certificates of occupancy. So the three of us recommend entry into the settlement because it's in the best interest of the town. The fine will punish them for their failures to obtain appropriate permits. The injunction prevents a use that's not permitted until such time as there are appropriate permits, and pretty much there's nothing further to be gotten out of the proceeding in the Supreme Court. At this time, without more, the likelihood of the buildings being taken down without something more radically wrong with the buildings is just extremely unlikely. We've done the research, we've discussed it, and we're recommending settlement in accordance with the resolution and the stipulation. And then once that is completed, the Justice Court will make a determination on the amount of the fine. The fine will be up to a maximum amount of $48,500, and we would be happy to answer any of the board's questions if you have any.
Anyone have any questions to the board? So I just want to clarify before I go into this that I understand what we're voting on here. So this is that illegal camp that was built on Rose Road. So essentially what we're looking to get from the applicant, or get from these folks, is essentially they're going to plead guilty in our town justice court to building without a permit, and they're going to be subject to whatever fine that the town justice sets, which we acknowledge to be a maximum of $48,500. So it could be that amount, it could be any other amount, but either way, instead of them fighting in court for their innocence or for their position, they're just gonna plead guilty and be at the mercy of the court for the fine. So that's for the local piece. One thing nothing they can't do is they cannot occupy the property without the planning board approvals, without building permits, without a town inspection, and without final COs. Until they get all of those things, they cannot occupy the property whatsoever. They must also submit an application to the planning board if they want any approvals to do anything with that property, and those approvals have to be in conformance with our zoning laws. Otherwise, they have to go to the zoning board if they have a hardship that they can prove. Also, number 4 is if given approvals for something that is allowable, they must use licensed contractors and they are subject to a town inspection. And then lastly, the court action will be discontinued, but the court still retains jurisdiction in case any of this stuff falls apart. So in a sense, we've reached the best possible conclusion that a judge would give us without having to spend hundreds of $1,000s in court and legal fees to get to that place. Based on your recommendations, it really doesn't make sense to say no to this because it gives us everything that we wanted in the first place. Do I have any questions from the board? Any comments? No? All right, so at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution authorizing settlement of the proceeding instituted against YNHK LLC and Yankel Horowitz in Sullivan County Supreme Court, index number E2023-1040.
Motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And I have 1 opposition. Motion passes. Next, number 15, motion to approve town board minutes dated 5/14/2024.
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. At this point, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss specific personnel, matters regarding specific personnel, hiring and firing. Do I have a motion?
And there'll be some litigation reports as well.
The current litigation,
Yes.
as well as to enter into executive session for current litigation.
Motion.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We do not anticipate any further business after executive session. We'd like to thank you for coming out to the meeting tonight. If you have any questions, you can hang around. It's not too late, or send your questions in to us. We'll try to address it. Thank you very much.